It is a Tom E. Tuesday, which means we're joined right now by Tom E. Curran, NBC Sports Boston. He's brought to you by D'Angelo's Sandwiches, New England Sandwich Shop, and by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If you're hearing this, chances are you're less than 20 minutes away from the closest Awaken 180, a once-a-week lunch break, a quick stop on the way home from work, minutes away from proven weekly weight loss at awaken180weightloss.com. Tommy Curran, how we doing this week? Tom, hello?
Hey,
what's up, Tom?
What's up? How are you?
yeah, I'm telling you, for some reason, have Billy call me back, because for some reason my phone keeps glitching, and I'm in the same spot I always am when I talk to you guys. I will be right back.
Okay.
No problem.
Stay tuned. Go nowhere. Tommy
We'll
Curran
lock it in, Billy.
will be joining us right back with his glitchy phone.
Was Tom the only one to get 2 questions?
I
at
think
the
so.
Kraft?
I think so.
That's pretty good.
It was.
You know?
Not
Not to power rank the beat reporters, but if you're getting 2 questions, you'd have to be probably number 1.
A lot of power and influence there. He has a quick slants poll up now on Twitter, which I wanted to ask him about, but let's bring this up in the meantime. He's asking about the next coach of the Patriots. Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, other, he says, write in, explain yourself.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, healthy sample, almost 3,000 votes. Mike Vrabel is 54%. Ben Johnson, 44%. I'm rounding a bit here. Other is 3%.
So, yeah, really those 2. It's what people like. It's funny because I think there are some people maybe scared away by just former Patriots after Mayo, but then there's also some afraid of first-year head coaches because of Mayo, right? And so, like, Vrabel and Johnson each have sort of a strike against them if you look at it that way.
So 54% say Mike Vrabel in the Quick Slants poll. You can check out Tommy Curran tonight on Quick Slants, NBC Sports Boston. He joins us again here on Jones and Keefe. Any better, Tom?
Seems to be.
Okay.
Seems to be much better. And I think that's I'm surprised by that poll to an extent. I thought that it would be more lopsided in favor of Vrabel. I knew that there was certainly a big sentiment for Johnson and the things that he brings to the table, but I thought it would be more convincing in the direction of Mike Vrabel.
So your colleague on the beat, Mark Daniels, says that he's told the plan is for Vrabel to interview with the Patriots this week. According to a source, Ben Johnson will also be interviewing with the Patriots. He's agreed to an interview with the Patriots. I know you tweeted yesterday it'd be way presumptuous to assume that Vrabel is the guy here in New England. Do you think he's the favorite?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think he is the preferred candidate and favorite for the team. But there's just so many different things that can happen, I would think, with this process. So until it's done, it's not done, as anybody can tell. But when you look at the other places out there, what do you like about those other spots, whether it be Chicago, New Orleans, Jacksonville? I'm missing one. Jets would be the other one. What do they have in common? And Vrabel articulated in an article with The Athletic last week that he wants to be comfortable and have an open line of communication with ownership. He also believes that you either have to have a very good quarterback or a pathway to finding one. And then finally, he needed to have people who shared his vision with X's and O's approach and team culture. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. When I look at that component of the team culture and the people in place that Robert Kraft stated would remain in place, Alonzo Highsmith and Elliot Wolf in the personnel department, it's hard to see how the visions will mesh smoothly with a new guy when in 2024, I find it a little bit dysfunctional towards the end of the year with the amount of finger pointing that's gone on.
So, yeah, how do you read it? Because Jones and I differ a little bit because Kraft was asked, as you were there, asked a couple questions, but he was asked some of the same. He was asked some of the same questions multiple times, but gave different answers to them. So at first, I read it as whoever the new head coach is going to have a major. He's going to be able to pick his coaches and have a major say in the players. And then 30 seconds later, it was Elliot Wolf's going to be here. So I don't like how assured is Elliot Wolf of being here and in the same role, I guess, is maybe the more important question. Could Vrabel or Ben Johnson come in and say, hey, I really like person X and I want them to be in charge of player personnel. Elliot Wolf can hang around and have a different title, but like I don't want him being the guy that has final say.
Yes, to the latter portion of what you're saying. And Phil Perry has spoken to some people, and that is the impression that that is what he was told, not the impression, that if an individual comes in, a candidate comes in and says, hey, this is my personnel vision. I want this individual to be heading up the personnel. This is what I want. Then they would perhaps hire that person and put Wolf in a more subsidiary role. I had it explained to me that, look, Elliott's not the GM. We believe that he should have more time because he was starting from a spot that was basically they were using typewriters and he's up to a fax machine because there was really the Bills' way of doing things in terms of grading, scouting, personnel. A lot of it was contained in his head, is how it was explained to me. So the work was done, but the decisions were made based on how Bill believed things should go. So now they're trying to implement a much more organized and sophisticated scouting system with different grading systems, and there's a desire to see that take root. All that said, that doesn't mean that scouting system with Elliott Wolf at the top of it is going to be the person who's going to be making the decisions. So all that said as well, yeah, they could hire somebody and say, Elliott, do your work, show us what you got at the end of it, we'll see what we do. That is my presumption. If it goes great, they bring in good players who develop, then maybe the role continues past 2025. If not, then what usually happens in these organizations where slowly people are phased out who are from a previous regime would probably happen.
Do you have any
was that a really crappy answer?
No, it makes sense. He would be on in a subsidiary role, but he's still here. I mean, they could have blown him out like the Titans just blew out their GM, and he's not. So I still think that's noteworthy. But he could be on in a subsidiary role.
I don't get the loyalty.
Yeah, me either. Right. I'm with you on that. But let me ask you: Do you understand or have an understanding of the appetite that Vrabel or Ben Johnson would have to working with Elliott Wolf?
Zero. Have no idea. But just based on. I can't imagine anyone wants a shotgun marriage or an arranged marriage, more specifically. I don't think there's even been any contact, so it can't be a shotgun. It would have to be an arranged marriage. And I don't think that Vrabel would have the interest in doing that necessarily unless he had every assurance that you're the boss. But again, to see the commentary from Elliott Wolf in that story with Henry McKenna last week, talking about we thought players would develop more, and we thought the coaching staff would do a better job, is just so such a, and I hate the word bad luck, but it's a bad look. And, as I'm sitting there today trying to get ready for Quick Slants, one of the things about this team and reflecting on some of Vrabel's comments is how much finger pointing and blame laying has gone on over the years. It was everybody. So it would be Bill blaming Tom, Tom blaming Bill, Robert crediting himself and blaming those two, then Bill blaming Mac and Mac blaming Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, and, then everybody blaming Mayo and Mayo not really enjoying working for Bill at the end, and then Bill blaming Mayo for backstabbing him and Elliott Wolf blaming Mayo for not developing players. The only person who I have seen take 1 ounce of ownership was Robert Kraft yesterday. So they got to cut that crap out. The Machiavellian backstabbing, not my fault, not my baby crap. And you think it wouldn't be like that with a one-voice organization, which Bill had. But once Bill started to see his power being chiseled away in 2021, then it became even more pronounced, the amount of finger-pointing and blame-laying. So this has become a very dysfunctional franchise, I think, because of the suspiciousness, distrust, and the fiefdoms which still exist.
I know it's been a couple of days, but I still can't get over the fact that they blew the number 1 pick. Like they blew, it was right there for them. All they had to do was lose, Tom. All these other teams around the league were losing. The team across the field lost just so you wouldn't get the number 1 pick. Does Kraft deserve blame for that? Like, if he knew he was going to fire Mayo, could he have fired Mayo before this, like that week leading into the game, brought in an interim and been like, listen, we're losing this game. Obviously, don't go out there and embarrass yourself, but just lose the game and then assure yourself the top prize in April's draft?
Sure, he could have done that, but I just don't think that's so far beyond the pale of what you would normally do, because you had to be aggressively trying to lose to the Buffalo Bills. That's the ironic thing about.
But shouldn't they have done that?
No, you can't. You can't. I mean, it's friggin' Vegas, DraftKings, the league office. You cannot aggressively lose.
What did the Chiefs do? What the Browns do? What the Titans do? The Giants do?
So bad. They tried. They didn't win. The Bills aggressively laid down to make the Patriots win. I mean,
the Bills had a lead in the game, Tom. So once they have the lead, then you can lose the game.
I don't know. We can go around and around.
I guess. I think it's malfeasance. And that's not a word I use very often.
Let me stick with the first part of Keith's question, which is, could they have fired Mayo before the game? And then you're not maybe actively having them tank it, but I think the message becomes pretty clear. Was there another way for Kraft to do it other than demanding the players go out there and try to lose?
Yeah, again, everybody thinks Mayo is a cigar store Indian over there anyway. You're going to fire the coordinators too and all the players? I mean, they're going to try. They're still going to do the same job. You can tell someone as an interim to go lose. I don't think the players are going to do that, period. And I just think it's so far beyond the pale to expect that would be something that they would engage in. To me, it's like we're talking about something that just isn't done and would reflect so crappily, I think, if you were really, because you had to be over the top trying to lose the football game. You had Joe Milton out there. You're fumbling at the 15. Tell Joey Sly to miss. I don't know. I mean, you can't ask the players.
Or you go for it on fourth down. You don't kick field goals or something. I don't know. Normally I would agree with you.
What are we doing? I mean,
the number one pick is that important, Tom. It's that important, and we're not saying, hey, lose every game for a year or for a month. Lose this one game.
How could they have lost the game? I can't come up with. We're at crossroads, but it's damaging to not get that.
Oh, it's huge.
It's damaging as hell to not have that, because you have the opportunity. I will say this, see if you agree with this or not. The first overall pick right now, if the Patriots owned it, would be interesting to watch unfold, because teams might go, well, they're not taking Milroe or Sanders. And so what? Go ahead. Take Will Campbell or Travis Hunter. We're going to get the player we want here. I'm not going up there and giving you the booty that you think you're going to get. Not in the same way that would have happened last year. I'm not saying it's better, but I just don't know if the booty would have been there.
Well, the draft's not as good as last year, but I still think all it takes is two teams, right? Because you can't just sit there and be like, well, you're not going to take them. It's like, yeah, but somebody else will, or somebody else will trade with 2 or 3 or whatever. It's better than the 4th pick, at least. We can all agree on that. No?
I lost you again.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say, if we can't agree that the 1st pick's better than the 4th pick.
I agree.
It's better.
One greater than 4. I'll fill in that gap for you there, Tom. Following up on your quick slant show poll, it's Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel. Is it really a 2-horse race? I know they have to go through the process and interview other people, but is it really just a 2-horse race, or is there another name we should be keeping an eye on?
I would think that just the flavor of the month type folks like the Liam Cohens and Bobby Slowicks would probably emerge as people to bring up Clifford of Kingsbury. But I really don't think that they need to reinvent the wheel here. I think that we're considering Ben Johnson as a candidate to the extent that we are, because the Patriots are interviewing him, but also because we're looking at, okay, they got Drake May, bring somebody in who's going to be. This team's problem extends beyond, and more importantly, I think, beyond the field and the players. It extends to an oozing of competency, an oozing of, hey, I got this, I'm in charge here, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to give everything I can. And look, Bill Belichick did ooze that, but the personnel was so bad that you could not win at the end. And I think a lot of the self-embraced dysfunction that he engaged in with Mac Jones, the quarterback, and the coaching staff just didn't help. So you need to, I think, instead of Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick or Cliff Kingsbury in the second go-round, bring somebody in who you know is a fit, who you have confidence in terms of his character, and who will be organized and purposed. So that, to me, is I just don't know if it's staring you right in the face.
Yeah, I just feel like that's all. Isn't it the safest thing? Where I don't know how high the ceiling is, like on Vrabel. Like on Vrabel, like I'm not going to be upset if they bring in Vrabel, but I just think matching up one of those other guys that are all offensive kind of gurus, matching them up with Drake May, like that's the formula to really kickstart the next decade of this franchise.
You're right to an extent, but I don't think that. I think the head coach is more of a CEO, and it doesn't matter if they're going. It's who the OC is going to matter incredibly, especially if Vrabel is the head coach. Who is going to be the offensive coordinator to bring the innovation out of Drake May and get him to the next level, or a level that very few players reach? Can he be, a top 5 player? He could. To me, I think the head coach is more of a tone setter, CEO. And, Bill was a brilliant defensive mind. But he had Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel who were running his defense, Bill's defense. But he was able to delegate. Bill's gift was for culture setting, expectation setting, the one voice, getting players to adhere to the level of discipline and demand that he was putting on them. So to me, you can say it's better to hire an offensive head coach. What's Dan Campbell? What is
offense?
What's Sean McDermott? Yeah. I mean, they are, but who was talking 4 years ago about Dan Campbell, offensive genius?
Well, that's why I love Ben Johnson so much, because I think when Ben Johnson leaves, I think Detroit's going to take a big step backwards. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll find out next year how much of a step backwards.
Ben Johnson might not be in the position to be the offensive guru that he was. Look, Josh McDaniels, brilliant offensive mind at the front of the room in 2 different locations. He has not succeeded, whether it be in Denver or Las Vegas. But that doesn't mean that he is not a brilliant offensive guy, and he might have been a victim circumstance in those positions. But whatever. I think this team needs culture and direction and stability at the top as opposed to whiz kid.
Okay, well, Vrabel, I agree with you. Vrabel brings a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it is safe, and it is high floor, and who knows, maybe it's a home run because he would bring a lot of those things to the table.
Are we going to get Jerod Mayo back on Quick Slants anytime soon, Tom?
Radio silence so far.
Oh!
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. What do you think he does?
either.
Does he do anything this year, you think? Or upcoming year, I mean?
What was that?
My phone sucks. I didn't hear the whole question.
Do you think Mayo does anything this year? Like, is he a coaching assistant somewhere or an advisor?
I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll be over it and just say, you know what? I didn't really have a blast the last 2 or 3 years as an assistant. I never became a defensive coordinator. Then I was a head coach, and I was strapped to a bad situation. I got hammered the entire time. I made a ton of mistakes. And I now have to start way back and start climbing again. Does he want to do that? Is he that passionate about it? Does he say, you know what? I'm over it. I'll be interested to hear.
I'm interested to hear if he punches back at Elliot Wolf or anybody else in any ways coming up. But we'll follow that for sure. Tommy Curran, excellent stuff as always. You can check him out. NBC Sports Boston. His latest is up there as well on the decision to move on from Jerod Mayo. Some interesting details in there about Mike Vrabel as well. And you can check him out tonight on Quick Slants. Tom, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much. All right.
Just wait for me. There we go. Bye-bye.
Okay, there it is. Tommy Curran. Shaky phone. At least on his end. He sounded fine on our end.
We could hear him clearly. I don't think he could hear us clearly.
So interesting